guys may have wondered what has happened to me recently. And of course, what I mean by that is where have I been with all my takes on illegal immigration, seeing how it is that it's quite literally the biggest issue this election cycle? Well, we're back to it.
Its debit card program for migrant families. The cards are meant to pay for food and baby supplies, but critics, well, they're worried about fraud and misuse funds. However, the city is showing that the program is actually helping alleviate the financial burden of caring for asylum seekers. Good Day's Jessica Formoso has more.
The city is expanding a program providing migrant families with debit cards to buy food and baby essentials. About 3 months ago, the Adams administration started testing out the program with a small group of families with children staying at city-run shelters. It started at 3 hotels. About 3,000 people received the cards. Now 7,300 prepaid cards will be distributed.
Roughly 45 seconds there of what's going on in New York City. So there's a new round of debit cards being released to the migrants who are in the city, and those migrants that, of course, how do I say, they're getting a lot of taxpayer benefits. And of course, there's also another group of people who are complaining about the fact that they're not getting taxpayer benefits, which of course you guys know my stance. I think that a wall just simply needs to be up and the border needs to be closed. And I've been sounding the alarm on this issue for a while. However, before we get to the rest of this news report, I want to go ahead and kind of prime this video a little bit with another clip. And the clip that I'm talking about is what you guys obviously saw in the thumbnail, and that is Dr. Umar Johnson. A guy that, quite frankly, philosophically, I disagree with on every single issue in the world because he's very, very much the black supremacist type. However, like I said before, and I'll say it once again, that even a broken clock is right twice a day. And he is sounding the same alarm that I've been sounding when it comes to this migrant crisis. Here you guys go.
Is when Joe Biden got elected, he said he wanted to fast track 4 million undocumented residents to full citizenship. Black people completely ignored it. I spoke on it. I said, do you know why he want to fast track 4 million? Because he know he's not going to do nothing for us. We ain't going to be motivated to vote for him November. So what he's going to do is have these migrants already set up with citizenship so they can replace the black vote that he loses.
Yes. And of course, they've been working on this. Now, we're going to get back to that news report out of New York City here in a second, and then we're going to come back to the Breakfast Club here soon. But I want to go ahead and say this right now. I want to say that it was another more supremacist type that went on the Breakfast Club right back in, I think, 2021, like right after Biden got in office, and basically exposed that the real reason why Kamala Harris was taken as VP was not for the black vote. It was actually designed to help out with U.S. relations overseas with the nation of India, because Kamala Harris is half Indian, half black, or excuse me, half Indian, half Jamaican, which of course you could probably say black, but still. The point is this right here. Oftentimes, these people know about little things that, quite frankly, are under the surface that many people don't really and truly consider. And it's a good idea to kind of bring their point up, which, by the way, I try to pride myself on bringing up points that, quite frankly, nobody else is looking at. And sometimes I even fall a little bit short. However, in this case of BRT, which is what I call it, I've been screaming this for about 2 years, that an entire race of people is about to be replaced. Now, whether this plan will work or not, I've already talked about in previous videos that I think this plan would actually not work out for them in the long term, because Hispanics typically tend to be very, very much, family-oriented, while at the exact same time, not exactly okay with the wokeness. Hence the reason why it is that Trump's Hispanic vote numbers are going through the roof. I've done a couple of videos on this, and this is obviously a plan that could, in fact, backfire, but we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. But back to what Dr. Umar Johnson was saying. He's telling the truth. He's basically telling people of his own race, look, you're being replaced. But speaking of that report out of New York City and how they intend to do it and how they intend on keeping that vote, let's get back to it.
New York City Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Ann William Isom, says the program enables newly arriving families the ability to make choices for themselves and their children by using these cards, stating, quote, they can buy from local shops, support small businesses, and manage their own resources. When we empower people, we help them achieve self-sufficiency and access the American dream. It's excellent that we could go out and buy fresh food. Julie Cifuentes is a mother of 3. She arrived 9 months ago and has been staying
in one of New York's best hotels at the behest of the taxpayer. The taxpayer, who, by the way, is getting tired of this. Now, There's another section of this news report that we'll get to here in a second, but I'm glad to see that she can admit that she's been buying the finest food with those debit cards. And not only has she been buying the finest food with those debit cards, but basically been eating like a king given the circumstances, the situation that she's in. Shouldn't be here. That's all I got to say. You're here illegally. However, that does not mean that she will not complain 2 seconds later, as you guys will see now.
Hotel in Queens, where she says the food is not fresh, and many times she ends up buying food outside. She hopes to obtain one of these cards this time around. We don't eat here often because you can tell the food is not fresh. The cards provide families a 28-day allowance to purchase food and baby supplies at stores that sell groceries and convenience items. As of June 16th, since its launch, the program has helped 900 families. According to the city, the card cost half as much as it would cost to deliver boxes of food to families staying at hotels. The city so far over $598,000, and it's projected to save the city approximately $4 million on migrant spending by the end of this year alone. But not everyone is in favor of this program, saying migrants are living for free at the expense of New York taxpayers.
We have no obligation to do anything. We have no obligation to house, feed, clothe these individuals. And as we've been saying for almost 2 years now, the things that the city are doing are creating incentives for these migrants to come here.
In Queens, I'm Jessica Formoso, Fox 5 News.
Now, I let that one run just a little bit longer, and here's the reason why I let it run a little bit longer. So that way I could give you guys a nice, long response to everything you guys heard. Number one, the reason why it is that, I'm glad to see that you went from talking about buying fresh food to now complaining about the food in the hotel, because let's just go ahead and say it out loud. A lot of people will not actually stay in a hotel unless they have free breakfast. I know people who are like that. They won't stay at the hotel at all if the breakfast is not free, or if they don't get access to breakfast at all. I'm just simply saying that there are other people out there who want that breakfast a lot more than you do, and they're willing to actually pay to stay in the hotel to get said breakfast. So technically, you're still paying for the breakfast, but still, that right there should kind of tell you something right there about these people getting kind of uppity, if you guys know what I'm saying. Of course, somebody will try to say that's racist, but who the hell cares at this point now? But the thing is this right here. They give you these debit cards so that way you can spend money outside the hotel. Now, really quick, I have said this before, that the vast majority, and this right here kind of proves the point that I've been trying to make, is that these people want to take the money and send it back to their native land. They don't want to put it in the U.S. economy. They don't want to spend it on anything here in the United States unless they have to. This goes back to what I've been saying the whole time. These people are not here to help out the United States of America. They are here to hurt the United States of America. I think you guys are seeing it right here on full display. However, this right here is where the narrative itself kind of runs counter to what Dr. Umar Johnson is saying. You see, Dr. Umar Johnson just thinks that the people who are coming over are just going to collect the benefits and also just replace blacks as a whole. And I've said that that is the case. However, there is going to be a certain section of people coming across that are going to be used in the BRT scheme that are not going to help America at all and actually go out of their way to actually damage America. We've seen this with the crime and stuff, but of course, Dr. Umar Johnson, while it is that he's correct about this BRT thing, he's not going to mention that because at the end of the day, you still don't want to, for political reasons, to actually attack people who run counter to you. But then again, at the same time, we also know that that is coming, that's on its way, and we've already seen evidence of it occurring because obviously in cities like Chicago and New York, you've seen black, we've seen black people upset with Hispanic people, because Hispanics are here, and of course they're getting the benefits that black people think that they deserve, when in reality, nobody really and truly deserves the benefit. You should be working a job. But then again, at the same time, though, I do understand that certain services do exist for a reason. But back to Dr. Umar Johnson.
Are being put in our communities on purpose, New York and Chicago on purpose, because they are what? The two blackest cities in America. They're the two largest cities in America. They're the two most politically conscious black communities in America. So if we can wash out the black with the brown in New York, if we can wash out the black with the brown in Chicago, Philly don't stand a chance. Atlanta don't stand a chance. LA, Houston, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago don't stand a chance. The migrants are here for 3 reasons. Replace us at the polls, replace us at the low-end industry jobs.
And the mainstream media ran the narrative that Trump was racist because he brought up black jobs during the debate with Joe Biden. I wanted to do a video on all that, but so many other better content creators had done videos on that. I think I'll leave one in the description box for you guys. But obviously, these jobs are jobs that are given to people who are lower skilled. Now, that's another video altogether. I'm not saying this to beat up on anybody because obviously, most people have worked a job that may have been lower skilled at some point in time. Some people have worked in the food service industry. Nothing against that at all. Just simply saying people have got to start out somewhere. I myself have worked a lot of retail. I mean, that right there is considered to be a lower skill job. And by the way, a lot of minorities work in retail and also at the same time work in the food service industry, also work in the hospitality industry. I'm just simply saying that a lot of these jobs are sent out to people who, quite frankly, can't go to college, or maybe they're in college at the time, or maybe they don't have the money to. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that these jobs exist for a reason, and they're normally starter jobs, but sometimes people end up working a lot longer in because their situation in life may be very difficult for them. But the thing that I want to kind of focus in on before we get back to the next clip is the fact that he was talking about these other cities don't stand a chance. Well, here's the thing. New York is solidly blue. Oh, wait, that's right. There was an article that came out yesterday that says that the state of New York is possibly going into battleground territory. We may talk about that in another video. I doubt it, but still at the same time, though, it does make you wonder. Also, something else, too, if you actually look at the election results from the state of Illinois, while it is that Biden won that state by like 16 or 17 points, by close to 1 million votes, if you have roughly 500,000 people just say screw you and not show up, and let's just say that the Republican nominee runs at the rules, that election suddenly gets much, much tighter in that state. I'm not saying the state will flip red or anything like that. I'm just simply saying that for electoral purposes, that could be an issue. Which makes me wonder why it is these people aren't going to Philly, Detroit, and not going to other areas. That's a very interesting thing that Dr. Umar Johnson mentioned that we'll probably touch on in a later video, but let's go ahead and get back to this.
The problem is black people don't get as much opportunity. So then people say, well, you know, white people don't really like brown people like that. That's true. But you know what the difference is? They don't have the burden of accountability with them that they have with us. We built the country. So every time they look at us or deal with us, the bottom line is y'all brought them here and they built y'all into what y'all are. They don't have to say that to the Venezuelans. They don't have to say that to the Colombians. They don't have to say that to the Mexicans. So although they don't like brown, they will much rather deal with them than the black, because with the black, there is a white man's burden that you owe them restitution for 246 years of unpaid.
Well, Doc, it's really because they don't complain. That's really the real reason why that's the case. Yeah, I said that. Look, I live in a state that's 22% black. I have black people in my neighborhood where I live at. They know exactly what I do for a living. They don't agree with all my views, but we all get along very, very good. Grew up with people of color, and I've never really heard that many people of color scream and holler about the race card or anything. Except a couple of times. Like, for example, when I worked at Best Buy back in 2014, we were primed for the potential of somebody using a race card to try to get ahead in line. As a matter of fact, it was a black guy one of our managers who even informed us that they would actually see this. Oh my God, he ended up being correct. We had 3 or 4 people of color, black people, scream and holler about there being too many white people in the line and how we're going to service them on Black Friday. This is back 2014. I say Black Friday because it's technically Black Thursday, Black Friday, because at that time they still had Black Friday sales on Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving night. But still, the point is this right here. It did get used. It's the only time I actually really saw it, outside the time when I was in the Marine Corps, when it got played religiously over every single incident. And some of the guys I served with who were from north of the Mason-Dixon line were like, dude, we deal with this crap all the time. I'm like, why, man? People, I'm not going to go too far into it. What I'm basically just simply saying is that I've never really seen it played as much as it is. But it is constantly played in certain areas and constantly played on television. Most Hispanics, say what you want to, I mean, whether how you feel about it or not, even the ones who are here illegally, they typically tend to not complain anywhere near as much. They typically tend to say, look, I just want something to work. I just want a job. I mean, some of these people are leaving tyrannical regimes, you know. Cuba, they had Castro, is still communistic. The Central America is still communistic. I mean, socialist regimes in South America. It's like these people actually embrace freedom. Meanwhile, these people who constantly play the race card, people like Dr. Umar Johnson, have been living under the United States their entire lives. They've never experienced such tyranny. Just saying.
Look at what Ari Adams is doing over there in New York. A family of 4 is getting $1,400 a month. $1,400 a month. Do you know that that's more than what some of the veterans are getting with a child? They're getting more money than veterans who served in the military. Damn. Not only that, they're getting free food stamps, free child care, and permanent housing. Although New York City has a black homelessness rate no less than 35%. So you got black people who pay taxes living on the street, and you got migrants who ain't paid a single tax in their life eating and living better than the black people who built the country. If I was talking to Eric Adams and Brandon Johnson of Chicago, I would ask them something. What is the Democratic Party giving you guys that you're willing to sacrifice your political future to push this migrant agenda? Because I don't see how they get reelected by black folks.
Well, New York City is so blue that Eric Adams probably won't lose his job. And of course, he also gets a lot of opportunities that will come post his time in office. I mean, all you got to do is look at Obama. And Obama, of course, lives in Martha's Vineyard. You know, the same people who pitched the whole CG phrase, the oceans are rising, they're going to destroy us all, they all buy houses on the beach. Very, very odd. It's really funny, too, because 75% of those who vote Democrat live in the coastal areas of the country. Just simply saying. They preach the agenda, they preach about the CG phrase to lock down a certain portion of their base, they get a bunch of money, and then they turn right back around, they get that money, and they buy a house somewhere on the coast. Obama, when he left the Oval Office, he was receiving, I think, about $300 or $400 million. I think it's what he got. I'll leave this video here in the description box from Judge Joe Brown. He brought the receipts. And then he was getting it a year. Michelle Obama, too. Also, something else, too, to go along with Barack was the fact that he also got a deal with Netflix shortly after he left the Oval Office. Yeah, these people are getting kickbacks the minute that they leave. So, yeah, they're sacrificing you for their own personal agenda. I'm glad to see that you finally woken up and see this. But then again, at the same time, Charlemagne the God does, or at least he did at one point in time, had a segment called Donkey of the Day. I think it's about high time you guys look in the mirror there, Charlemagne. Even though I know it's not Charlemagne talking, I'm just simply saying I think it's about high time you look in the mirror. Because at this moment in time, and we all know what Charlemagne's going to do, he's going to go vote Democrat regardless. Now, it's possible he may stay home with Biden on the ticket, but of course, if Harris is on the ticket, he's going to vote for it. But trust me, Kamala Harris, she's still very, very much a part of the plan as well. Even though I believe that these people stand no chance of winning this year, I'm just simply saying that their plan has gone to full effect, and finally somebody is telling them what the hell is going on. But I can promise you right now, these people will still find a way not to listen. But let's continue.
I don't see how. And if your city goes to the migrants, you can best believe the migrants ain't electing no black person to mayorship. So you're literally dying on your sword for the Democratic Party. Do you know that New York City has spent $1.5 billion on the migrant crisis so far? It's projected that this year, 2023 was $1.5 billion to take care of migrants. $1.5 billion. 2024 and 2025, they said it will cost New York City $9 billion. Chicago has spent about $350 million this year on the migrant crisis, and that's expected to quadruple. And you know what was so disrespectful about Chicago with regard to Brandon Johnson? Remember all them schools they shut down in Chicago because they said they couldn't afford to operate them? Mm-hmm. They opened them up. Not only did they open them up, they renovated them. Turned them into apartments for migrants, so you sleep upstairs, go to school downstairs. Projected that this year, 2023 was $1.5 billion to take care of migrants. $1.5 billion. 2024 and 2025, they said it will cost New York City $9 billion. Chicago has spent about $350 million this year on the migrant crisis, and that's expected to quadruple. And you know what was so disrespectful about Chicago with regard to Brandon?
I let that one run a little bit long. And of course, you guys can see that all the money that's being spent on the migrants is being bypassed, or it's being given to them and their own housing and all that type of stuff. Which, by the way, we've been talking about for a long time. These migrants are getting housing, they're getting hotels, they're getting debit cards, and then they turn right back around and complain that the free food that they get is crap, it's trash, even though people obviously spend money to go stay in those hotels. And, of course, those people won't stay in those hotels unless they got the breakfast. What I'm basically trying to say is that you got two factions here that are extremely ungrateful. Two very ungrateful factions. One that should not be here at all, and the other one, of course, that's always been here and for whatever reason still continues to live and act as if to say it is the third century or something like that. The point is this right here. I'm glad to see that somebody on their side of the aisle has finally come out and said, hey, look, man, we're getting replaced. That right is what the hell is going on here. I'm glad to finally see that is occurring. Of course, it's a little too late. But of course, like I said before, these people will still go out there and they will still support the Democratic ticket, thinking that they will not be that phrase, as I had to say again. The fact of the matter is that it might be a little bit too late for these people to see it. Now, there has been a shift in the community, meaning that their voting pattern has shifted away from the Democratic Party. However, the truth be told is this here. That base of support, that particular community will never vote Republican at anything more than a 16 to 18% clip. It just never will. It will appear to be higher this time around, but that will be because a lot less black people are voting this time around because they're angry with the current regime. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that more than likely, if anything, these people, the holdouts, will eventually just form their own party. But of course, that's another topic for another day. But you guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. I was wanting to release a video on Trump's potential VP pick or who I think it'll be today, but I think I'm going to wait till tomorrow to release that one. There's going to be a second video coming out today that's going to be about this issue involving... it's a new form of gun control these people are trying to orchestrate. It's very, very odd, very, very weird, but at the same time, though, I'm kind of like, this isn't gun control at all, but still at the same time, I just it's more or less their thinking of how they're doing it. In reality, they're really kind of helping us out, but I'll be explaining that one in the second video today. So still, please make sure you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.